Hi everyone, Hirsch Zah here. Today, 24th of December 2023, Christmas Eve, and reporting from Auckland. This is a bit of a talk that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. It's about something that has really fascinated me for a very, very long time again. And it's actually a movie that came out back in 1987, which was actually a box office flop, unfortunately. And it was with a very popular franchise. It's a sequel. In fact, it's a third sequel or a part four of that franchise, or that group of movies. Um, and long story short is that the budget was cut very short at the time. The budget was originally going to be $36 million for the movie, but it was slashed to 17 million, and also the rights for this movie franchise was also acquired by another group, another firm, not the original one. So I think to break the mystery, to stop keeping you in suspense, to stop keeping you in darkness, it's simply Superman. So Superman Part Four, The Quest for Peace, which came out in 1987, starring Christopher Reeve. And it's a movie that he actually contributed a lot to making, not just in acting, but also he co-wrote it. He co-wrote the story, and just happen to have here a copy of the DVD, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, and even the book on it as well. I've watched the movie many times, and I've also read the book. So that's the movie based on it. And like I said, Superman Part 4, The Quest for Peace, unfortunately, it was a flop, but it was made with very good intentions, and I think a lot was put into it. Unfortunately, the budget was slashed, and, I guess some corners were cut here and there. Um, and actually, in the end, the movie wasn't actually completely finished. So what was released was an unfinished product, unfortunately, and a lot of um, scenes were, for some reason, deleted from the movie. In fact, I think it's about 30 to 40 minutes of deleted scenes, many of which are on the DVD, but some which are not. So that really cut the movie down in length, but at the same time, it sort of made it a bit incomprehensible because by cutting so many scenes, some scenes having reference to other scenes, people just didn't understand what was happening sometimes. But really, what I wanted to get to was one thing in the movie and also in the book, which just never left me, which has always made me think, and hopefully it'll make you think. Basically, what happens in the movie is that it's 1987, just like when the movie came out, and that might not be exactly the height of the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States, the two superpowers at the time. So that might not have been really the height of the Cold War. It was really more so in the 60s and 70s, especially when you had the Vietnam War and the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, and of course the space race, which went on during the late 50s and throughout the 60s. But in the movie, there is a summit between the Soviet Union and the United States about nuclear armament, the nuclear arms and all that, and they can't reach an agreement. So they've just said, okay, look, we have to strive to be second to none in the nuclear arms race. So they start arming themselves, and Superman sort of wakes up. What I thought was so good about Superman 4 is that it deals with that age old question that has been around for thousands of years. I think, if I'm correct, even since ancient Greek mythology. And the question is, if there is someone who can do something, or someone with power, whether it's someone who's very wealthy or very powerful, or even God himself, or anyone like that, why doesn't he do something? Something to help, something good. And this really hits Superman when a boy in the movie writes a letter to him saying that, you know what, I think we should get Superman to rid the world of nuclear arms because only he can do it and he can stop ourselves from blowing ourselves up. And I always found it so interesting, the parallel between that boy kind of starting that movement that Superman takes on to rid the world of nuclear arms, and the parallel between Greta Thunberg, the Swedish environmentalist who just as a teenager, as you may recall just a few years ago, started, striking on Fridays from school unless something was done about climate change. And what she did started a huge movement, as you know, and she was Time Magazine Person of the Year. I think it was 2019, if I remember correctly. So I found interesting parallels between the boy in the movie and Greta Thunberg, the Swedish environmentalist who began that movement. But in the movie, so the boy writes a letter saying, Superman, I believe you should rid the world of nuclear weapons. Only you can do it. Only you can make sure we don't blow ourselves up. And Superman kind of just ignores it at first. His father has told him that when he sent him to Earth from his home planet, his mother planet, Krypton, and him being the only survivor because Krypton unfortunately fell into its own sun and was annihilated. He said his father said to him, Jor-El said to Superman, and his real name is Kal-El. He said, I've given you this advantage over human beings where you have superhuman powers mentally and physically, and they don't. I've given you this advantage, so you can to ensure your survival, not so you can go saving the world or do anything like that. You are forbidden to interfere with the course of human history. You are strictly forbidden. And Superman even talks to the Kryptonian Council through his Fortress of Solitude, and they say, look, if you're trying to get the world to believe in yourself and you're just teaching them to be betrayed. And Superman, he's a bit confused, but eventually he comes through, and he actually decides to do what the boy said, to actually be a true superhero and to rid the world of nuclear weapons, not just do something like saving a cat stuck up in a tree, something small like that, but something major. In other words, saving the whole world, all the people of Earth. And it's amazing. In this movie, he actually gets in front of the United Nations. The United Nations, I think their main board in New York, or the city is called Metropolis in the movie. But he gets up there, and I remember he just gives this amazing speech, where he really answers the boy's question. And when people are thinking that he basically said, no, I'm not going to do anything about nuclear arms, especially after the United States and the Soviet Union have both said they're going to be second to none in the nuclear arms race, and that another Cuban Missile Crisis is just a matter of time, from happening. But he gets up and he gives this amazing speech. He says, Madam Secretary, honourable delegates, ladies and gentlemen, for many years I've lived among you as a visitor. I've seen the beauty of your many cultures. I felt great joy in your magnificent achievements. I've also seen the folly of your wars. As of today, I'm not a visitor anymore, because the earth is my home too. We cannot live in fear, and I'm not going to stand idly by and watch us stumble into the madness of possible nuclear destruction. So I've come to a decision. I'm going to do what our governments have been unwilling and unable to do. Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons. And as you could imagine, the crowd just cheers him on, and he immediately walks out and he begins that. Whenever there's a nuclear weapon fired by either the United States or the Soviet Union, he immediately grabs it and he chucks it into the sun, so it will do no damage. He's like, sorry, no, this is not going to kill anyone, this is not going to hurt anyone. And he does that for all the nuclear weapons. And obviously, with him doing that, people would stop creating and firing the nuclear weapons. And in that, he effectively ends the Cold War in the movie. And as the title says, Superman 4, the quest for peace, he achieves that. He achieves peace. And I remember actually in the book, it was saying there's if you like a scene, or there's a bit in the book where he talks to his mother in the Fortress of Solitude, and his mother says, your father told you not to interfere with the course of human history. This is not really for you to do. You should listen to your father. He's a very wise man. And Superman says, well, mother, sometimes there's more to learn from children than the wisest of men. Something that really made me think, something that I'll never forget, and hopefully does the same with you. But all in all, I think it's an incredible story, and both the movie and the book together, even though it was a flop, really because of the low budget and therefore low special, B-grade special effects that resulted from that. But judging a movie based on its special effects purely, I mean, that's like judging someone on their looks, right? As opposed to what's actually important, everything above the eyes, not below them, right? What's important is what's up here. So with the movie, again, what's important is its actual story, its dialogue, its characters, what happens, even its comedy, and what it teaches you and what it makes you realize and how it makes you think. Well, that's what I think is important. So hopefully this video has helped you, has made you think about that as well, and maybe helped you appreciate the movie a bit more, maybe even might have encouraged you to watch the movie or read the book, who knows. But yeah, really makes you think. Thank you.